panelist, Sunil, who is Sunil Thakur. Sunil is the managing director at Quadria Capital. He has over 17 years of private equity and investment banking experience across South and Southeast Asia. He has led and executed 30 plus transactions valued over $7 billion across merger and acquisition, capital markets, and project finance, including some of the award-winning and marquee cross-border transactions. Quadria Capital, I think a lot of you know, has recently raised around $600 million fund for healthcare-focused deals. So my question to you, Sunil, is as you represent Quadria Capital, which is Asia's leading healthcare private equity fund, and with significant investments in India, how do you think this Black Swan event will impact private equity players' short and long-term investment strategy? What are the key investment opportunities emerging out of this unprecedented crisis? Over to you, Sunil.
Thank you, Gaurav, and good evening to all the panelists and all the participants on this webinar. It certainly is a black swan event. I don't think there is any doubt about this, and that's relevant even for the lens that we are looking through as a private equity investor. See, if I take you back of how private equity investors work, we create themes for investments, and most of them are created through the lens of any entrepreneur or industrialist, people who are actually dreaming, creating visions, and executing those business plans. So if I have to look at this event through the lens of entrepreneurs, professionals who are there on the ground, I can take a cue from whatever I've heard from the other panelists who come from the industry, and some of the common themes or data points that are coming out are that there is no parallel to this particular event. There is no template to sorting out the issues that we are facing and that we will be facing. It's not the old order. The new order has to come in. The second point that I kept hearing was that there is a disruption of the existing order. There will have to be realignments. But at the same time, what I also heard is there is significant amount of opportunity that will come out of this event. And one important thing that will become the big part of new order is going to be digitization. So these are the common points that I heard, and that's relevant from a private equity investors, both from how to manage the situation and the opportunity set that we would look at. So now, if I was to sit back and look at the entire event and see, where I need to deploy the money, I would look at both from the lens of how do I manage the current situation, how do I allocate capital to the current situation, and then think about, what could be the new order. And that is the way most other private equity investors would think or are thinking. Just in terms of the quantum, if I tell you, we are sitting on a $2 trillion of dry powder in the private equity industry. It won't vanish. A large part of it might, go in for a slow investment. But there is significant amount of dry powder which is sitting there. And most people would think exactly the way as I suggested or I mentioned, that people would look at. If I can divide the mindset, of a private equity investor, there would be one set of investors who would be in the wait and watch bucket. There would be investors who would be more concerned about their existing portfolio companies. The entire focus would be on how to manage and see that there is liquidity, solvency, and also an opportunity that the existing portfolio companies may take. So how do we fund those situations for our existing portfolio? And the third bucket would be investors who would look at the opportunity that is there as part of the current event, and more importantly, opportunities that will be part of the new order that will come out. So that's broadly how most private equity investors would think. So overall, if you were looking at a $2 trillion dry powder, you can imagine that a bulk of it is going to get invested either in existing portfolio companies or in future opportunities. Now, if I talk about the future opportunities, that we will see, there is a common theme and there are common drivers. So without naming specific industry, if I will just to talk about what themes and drivers one would see in healthcare industry that would drive opportunities. It is going to be models that will provide access. It will be models that is going to harness the current behavioral change that everybody is going through. More importantly, the way we are doing this webinar is a big behavioral change. Models that are going to sort out resource issues. As we've been dealing with, this whole demand supply, in the healthcare, this has been very acute in the current situation. So models that are going to bridge this whole resource mismatch will find a lot of takers. Models that are going to provide convenience to all the stakeholders. So starting from customers or patients, starting from hospitals, pharma companies, convenience has become the order of the day. Today everybody now wants that everything should be supplied with the tap on the phone. Models that are going to cater to safety and quality. More on safety. If I was to just look at India as an economy, models that are going to back business continuity plan. Something that Quadria and a few other panelists mentioned. Business continuity plan is going to be very, very important. Everybody, each and every industrialist is going to go back and see, how do we avoid a crisis, if something of this sort had to happen again. Models of self-reliance. This is going to be a big push from government, as if you heard Prime Minister Modi day before yesterday, the point that he made was, the biggest lesson for him has been to be self-reliant. So self-reliant models are going to be the order of the day. Patient therapy continuity programs, especially for chronic, there has been a complete breakdown in the entire therapy continuity program for most of the patients. So any model, so digital therapy, if I was to take, is going to become something of vogue in the coming days. And wellness. So these are the 8 to 9 themes or drivers that will drive opportunities. Now, the opportunity can come in various shapes and forms, but these are going to be the big themes that most private equity investors in the healthcare space are going to go after.
Thanks. I think a lot of very, very, very valuable inputs. And I think I will agree with you, Sunil, that this chaos or crisis will bring unprecedented investment opportunities, because every crisis, as even Prabal was saying, a lot of companies that came into existence, the digital companies, Alibaba or other companies, came because of that behavioral change that happened. And right now also what you are hinting at is that we have to look at, the intelligent investor has to look at from a very macro perspective and look at various changes which will happen. So very important
point, Gaurav, which I just wanted to mention, if I have to take a cue from the public market, there are quite a few pharma stocks which are now trading at 52-week high. So in all this gloom and doom, there is somebody who is sitting there to take benefit of the opportunity and buying stocks.
And I should not mention, but I will still mention that China is also trying to take maximum opportunity. Which
it's about how do you sit back, relax, have ice in the belly, and then
So mindfulness, I think, becomes a very, very important trait for all the investors also, and behavioral economics becomes very important and critical for all of us.
Absolutely.
And I think a very, very important point, Sunil, because this is the time when investors can actually make a difference to the society and also do some impact investing and also make money. So there are a lot of opportunities which are floating around, but we need to be careful and we need to select the best opportunity which can maximize the returns. So thanks, Sunil.